The Sith Wars were a series of conflicts fought between the Sith and the Jedi, often involving the Galactic Republic, over the course of thousands of years. A major war that took place within the Sith Wars was the Great Hyperspace War, which occurred around 5000 BBY and was one of the earliest recorded conflicts between the Sith Empire and the Galactic Republic. It began when two Republic explorers, Gavin Jory Daragon, accidentally stumbled upon the Sith Empire, ruled by Dark Lord Nagasato. Seizing the opportunity, Nagasato launched a full-scale invasion on the Republic, aiming to extend the Sith's control over the entire galaxy. The Republic was caught off guard, and the Sith made early gains. However, the combined strength of the Republic's military and the Jedi Order turned the tide. The Republic ultimately defeated the Sith forces, and Nagasato was forced into exile, leading to the collapse of the Sith Empire. Roughly a millennium later, the Great Sith War broke out when a powerful Jedi Knight, Exar Kun, fell to the dark side and declared himself a Sith Lord after studying ancient Sith teachings. He was joined by another fallen Jedi, Ulic Qel-Droma, and together they waged war against the Jedi and the Republic. Exar and Ulic launched devastating attacks on key Republic worlds, including Coruscant, and sought to destroy the Jedi Order. The Sith gained initial victories, but internal conflicts and betrayal, specifically Ulic's eventual remorse and betrayal of Exar, weakened the Sith cause. Exar Kun's final defeat came when the combined forces of the Jedi trapped him on the jungle moon of Yavin 4, where his spirit was bound in limbo. The Republic and Jedi won the war, but at a high cost, as the Jedi Order was left weakened and many lives were lost in the conflict. The Jedi Civil War was another major conflict that occurred nearly 50 years later in 3959 BBY. It was instigated by two former Jedi Knights, Darth Revan and Darth Malak, who turned to the dark side and declared themselves Sith Lords. They sought to conquer the Republic, utilizing the remnants of the Mandalorian fleets and also their new Sith forces. Revan led the Sith to many victories, but was eventually captured and turned back to the light side by the Jedi. His redemption shifted the balance of the war as he ultimately defeated his former apprentice at the Battle of Rakata Prime, ending Malak's reign of terror. The Republic survived, but the war left it severely weakened. The Jedi Order was nearly wiped out, with many Jedi either dead or scattered, and though the Sith forces were defeated, Revan's actions echoed across the galaxy for years to come. The new Sith Wars spanned nearly 1,000 years, beginning at around 2000 BBY. This conflict arose after a new Sith Empire, led by rogue Jedi turned Sith, launched attacks against the Republic. The war saw multiple Sith factions fighting for dominance, leading to chaos on both sides. The Sith nearly succeeded in toppling the Republic, but their infighting weakened them. The turning point of the war came when a Sith called Darth Bane introduced the rule of two, a philosophy that there should only ever be two Sith at any time, a master and an apprentice, to prevent the kind of internal power struggles that had plagued the Sith in the past. Bane's reforms marked the beginning of a new era for the Sith, and the war culminated in the 7th Battle of Ruusan, where the Jedi and Republic forces finally defeated the Sith armies. The Sith were thought to be destroyed, but Darth Bane and his apprentice survived in secret, ensuring the Sith's long-term survival. The Sith Wars were devastating for the galaxy, and countless lives were lost, with entire planets being destroyed or severely damaged. Each war left the Republic and the Jedi weakened, struggling to rebuild in the aftermath. The Unidentified War, involving the Chiss Ascendancy, is a significant but somewhat mysterious conflict. The Chiss, a strange species from the unknown regions, are best known for their strategic genius and isolationist approach to galactic affairs. The Chiss Ascendancy was a highly advanced, secretive civilization located far from the core worlds of the Republic and the Galactic Empire. This isolation allowed the Chiss to maintain their independence, but it also meant that they had to defend themselves from the numerous threats lurking in the unknown regions. These included other alien species and political factions that fought for power. The exact timeline of the war is difficult to place, as much of the Chiss history remains unexplored. However, the war likely took place in the period leading up to the rise of the Galactic Empire, or during its early years. And despite being a highly advanced and well-organized society, they operated under a principle of non-aggression. They only engaged in war as a last resort to focus on defending their territory. The Chiss, under constant threat, could not ignore the dangerous forces and the unknown regions that posed a threat to their existence. So out of purely wanting to survive, they used their superior technology and military strategies to protect their people and maintain their sovereignty. The most notable figure in this war was Thrawn, who was one of the greatest military minds in the galaxy. Before his rise to prominence in the Galactic Empire, Thrawn served as a high-ranking officer in the Chiss Ascendancy's expansionary defense fleet. His strategic brilliance and ability to anticipate and outmaneuver his enemies played a crucial role in securing the Chiss's victory during the war. Thrawn's tactical abilities likely led to several key victories against the invading forces. However, the Chiss often avoided large-scale direct confrontations, preferring instead to use tactics like ambushing or psychological warfare to weaken their enemies before they could pose a serious threat. The war ultimately ended with the Chiss Ascendancy's galaxy's survival, and they successfully defended their territory, preventing the collapse of their society. However, the cost of this victory remains unknown, as the Chiss were known to be secretive about their internal affairs and the full extent of their losses. Thrawn was eventually exiled from the Ascendancy due to his more aggressive tactics, but it was not necessarily a punishment and more of a recognition of his skills, which could be better used elsewhere. This eventually led Thrawn to join the Galactic Empire, where he rose to the rank of Grand Admiral just under Emperor Palpatine, further influencing galactic history. The Mandalorian-Jedi War was a long and brutal conflict between the Mandalorian warrior clans and the Jedi Order. This war took place over several centuries, with the most notable confrontations occurring between approximately 3976 to 3960 BBY. The origins of this conflict can be traced back to the rise of the Mandalorian Crusaders, a group of nomadic warriors from the planet Mandalore who valued combat above all else. The Mandalorians saw themselves as the ultimate warriors and sought to prove their strength by fighting the most formidable opponents in the galaxy, which eventually brought them into conflict with the Jedi. The Mandalorians began a series of conquests in the Outer Rim, and as their expansion threatened the Republic's space, clashes with the Jedi, who were protectors of the Republic, became inevitable. The war was driven by the Mandalorians' desire for glory and the Jedi's commitment to preserving peace and order. The war included pivotal moments like the Battle of Malachor V, which became one of the most devastating engagements. Under Revan, who at the time was still a Jedi Knight, he commanded the Republic to activate the Mass Shadow Generator, a super weapon that annihilated both Mandalorian and Republic fleets, bringing the war to a brutal and decisive end. The Mandalorian forces were utterly defeated, and Mandalore the Ultimate, a key Mandalorian leader, was killed in this final confrontation. Throughout the war, the Mandalorians won several early victories due to their advanced combat tactics, resourcefulness, and superior battle armor. They were able to conquer several key Republic worlds and inflict heavy losses on the Republic military. However, as the Jedi joined the conflict and Revan's leadership solidified the Republic's counteroffensive, the tide of battle shifted. The Mandalorian-Jedi War ended with the destruction of the Mandalorian army and the collapse of their empire. After the death of Mandalore the Ultimate, Revan took the fallen leader's mask, a symbolic gesture that prevented the Mandalorians from rallying under a new leader for many years. The remaining Mandalorians were scattered, and many became mercenaries or bounty hunters. The proud Mandalorian warrior culture was left in shambles, and their homeworld of Mandalore was severely weakened. The Republic was left deeply weakened by the conflict, with many of its resources and military forces depleted. Revan and many other Jedi who had fought in the conflict grew disillusioned with the Jedi Order's reluctance to act during this time, which is what made them ultimately fall to the dark side. The Mandalorian-Jedi War resulted in catastrophic losses on both sides, and entire planets were devastated, with millions of lives being lost. The Republic struggled to recover from the economic and political toll of this conflict, and for the Mandalorians, this war began the decline of their clan. The invasion of Naboo, also known as the Naboo Crisis, took place in 32 BBY. This war was the result of political and economic dispute between the Galactic Republic and the Trade Federation, a powerful corporate entity that controlled much of the galaxy's trade routes. Under the influence of Darth Sidious, the Trade Federation blockaded the small and peaceful planet of Naboo in protest of the Republic's taxation of trade routes in the Outer Rim territories. The blockade was initially an economic pressure tactic, but Sidious pushed the Trade Federation to escalate it into a full-scale invasion, with the goal of achieving his larger goal of weakening the Republic and furthering his Sith ambitions. When negotiations with the Republic, represented by Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, failed due to the Federation's treachery, the Federation deployed a massive droid army to occupy the planet. The peaceful Naboo people were quickly overwhelmed by the superior numbers of battle droids, forcing Queen Amidala and her people into submission. Amidala was captured, but with the help of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, she escaped the planet to seek aid from the Galactic Senate. Upon reaching Coruscant, Queen Amidala appealed to the Senate for assistance, but the political system, bogged down by bureaucracy and the influence of corporations like the Trade Federation, failed to act swiftly. Manipulated by Palpatine, Amidala called for a vote of no confidence, which ultimately led to Palpatine's election as Supreme Chancellor. However, realizing the Senate could not help in time, Amidala decided to return to Naboo and fight for her people's freedom. Upon her return, Queen Amidala formed an alliance with the Gungan people, led by Boss Nass, who initially had been reluctant to join the fight. The Gungans, with their grand army, played a critical role in distracting the droid army during this conflict. The Battle of Naboo took place on two fronts. The Gungans fought the droid army on the plains, while Amidala, her forces, and the Jedi infiltrated Theed to deactivate the droid control ship in orbit. The invasion of Naboo ended in a victory for Queen Amidala and her forces, with the Trade Federation defeated. The Republic, unaware of the Sith's involvement, believed this was just another corporate dispute, but the events set in motion a chain of events that would lead to the Clone Wars and the ultimate fall of the Jedi Order. The Clone Wars took place between 22 BBY and 19 BBY, and this conflict erupted after a period of political instability and corruption within the Galactic Republic. Numerous star systems, disillusioned by the Republic's inefficiency, aligned themselves with the Separatist alliance, led by Count Dooku, a former Jedi turned Sith Lord who operated under Sidious's orders. The Separatists sought independence from the Republic, rallying corporations like the Trade Federation, the Techno Union, and the Intergalactic Banking Clan to their cause. The tension between the Republic and the Separatists finally boiled over on the planet Geonosis when the Republic dispatched Jedi to rescue Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Padme Amidala after they uncovered the creation of the Separatist droid army. This event triggered the start of the war, and the Republic mobilized a previously secret clone army created on Kamino, marking the beginning of full-scale hostilities. Numerous battles occurred during the Clone Wars, spanning countless star systems, and it eventually came to an end in 19 BBY, with the fall of the Separatists and the rise of the Galactic Empire. However, this was orchestrated by Darth Sidious, who as Palpatine, had used the war as a means to gain dictatorial control over the Republic. In the final days of the war, Palpatine executed Order 66, ordering the clone troopers to turn on and eliminate the Jedi. This resulted in the near extermination of the Jedi Order and allowed Palpatine to declare himself Emperor. Anakin Skywalker, seduced by the dark side and Palpatine's promise of power, became Darth Vader, betraying the Jedi and leading the purge of the Order. The Separatist leaders, including Count Dooku, who had been killed by Anakin earlier in the war, and General Grievous, were systematically eliminated, leaving Palpatine as the uncontested ruler of the galaxy. The Clone Wars led to a staggering loss of life across the galaxy, with billions of soldiers, civilians, and Jedi perishing. The droid army, while numerically superior, was no match for the clone troopers' training and strategic advantage, but the clones themselves were ultimately tools of Palpatine's. The war's most significant consequence was the transformation of the Galactic Republic into the Galactic Empire, and the once celebrated clone army became the Imperial Stormtroopers, enforcing the Empire's rule across the galaxy. The Jedi Order was decimated, with only a few survivors going into exile. The Galactic Civil War began in 0 BBY, after the formation of the Rebel Alliance, and ending in 5 ABY. After transforming the Galactic Republic into the Empire, Palpatine established a brutal dictatorship, expanding his control over the galaxy through fear, oppression, and the military might of the Imperial fleet. Disapproval towards the Galactic Empire began to grow across the galaxy as citizens suffered under harsh rule, and several former senators began organizing a rebellion. The Rebel Alliance, a coalition of various resistance groups and disillusioned Republic loyalists, officially formed around 2 BBY, with the aim of overthrowing the Empire and restoring democracy. This war was the cause of several major battles, with countless casualties on both sides. Entire planets, such as Alderaan, were destroyed by the Empire as acts of terror to intimidate those thinking of rebellion. Millions of Imperial and Rebel soldiers lost their lives in battles fought across countless star systems. Civilian casualties were also significant as the conflict spanned the galaxy and affected nearly every inhabited world. The Galactic Civil War officially ended with the Battle of Jakku and the signing of the Galactic Concordance. The Galactic Empire, once thought to be invincible, collapsed in the wake of the rebellion's final victory. Imperial remnants continued to exist, but they were fractured and disorganized, and this allowed the new Republic to rise, restoring democratic governance to the galaxy. The perceived death of Emperor Palpatine and the redemption of Darth Vader signaled the end of the Sith's reign over the galaxy. The Jedi Order, which had been nearly destroyed during Palpatine's rise, saw the beginnings of a revival through Luke Skywalker. Politically, the new Republic was established, but it faced the challenge of maintaining peace and stability after decades of authoritarian rule. The Cold War occurred between 29 to 34 ABY, and it was a period of rising tension between the new Republic and the emerging threat of the First Order, a militaristic faction that sought to restore the ideals of the fallen Galactic Empire. The new Republic was formed with the goals of restoring democracy and peace to the galaxy. However, remnants of the Empire retreated into the unknown regions, where they regrouped and began to build the First Order, a secretive and highly organized regime led by Supreme Leader Snoke. By 29 ABY, the First Order had become a growing threat, but many within the New Republic were reluctant to acknowledge it. The New Republic Senate, plagued by infighting, largely dismissed the First Order as an irrelevant threat and refused to take decisive action against it. Senator Leia Organa, who understood the gravity of the situation, was frustrated by the Republic's inaction. She ultimately left the Senate and formed the Resistance, a paramilitary group dedicated to opposing the First Order. During the Cold War, open warfare had not yet broken out between the New Republic and the First Order, but there were numerous covert actions. The First Order conducted secret raids, testing its growing military capabilities and expanding its influence in the unknown regions, all while officially denying its intentions of war. Meanwhile, the Resistance engaged in guerrilla-style operations, trying to gather information and disrupt First Order activities. The New Republic Senate, divided into various factions, refused to fully endorse Leia's resistance efforts. Some senators even sympathized with the First Order's emphasis on law and order Order, favoring a stronger, more centralized government. Others wanted to maintain the decentralized nature of the Republic and oppose any action that would lead to militarization. The Cold War came to an abrupt and catastrophic end in 34 ABY, with the activation of the Starkiller base. In a surprise attack, the First Order destroyed the Hosnian system, which included Hosnian Prime, the capital of the New Republic. The Cold War period ended in tragedy for the New Republic, but it set the stage for the Resistance struggle for survival and the eventual rise of new heroes. The Resistance War, also known as the War between the Resistance and the First Order, took place between 34 and 35 ABY. This war directly followed the Cold War after the destruction of the Hosnian system. This devastating strike decimated the New Republic's central government and military fleet, effectively crippling the galaxy's main democratic institution and leaving the Resistance as the last opposition to the First Order's expansion. The First Order sought to take control of the galaxy, believing the time was ripe with the New Republic in disarray. The Resistance, though small, launched a counterattack that led to the destruction of the Starkiller base. However, the war was far from over, and the First Order, though temporarily hindered, quickly regrouped. There were several large battles that took place within this war, resulting in a lot of casualties on both sides. The Resistance War ended in 35 ABY with the destruction of the First Order's leadership and the death of Emperor Palpatine, who had been manipulating events from the shadows. The Resistance, despite its small size and limited resources, emerged victorious thanks to the bravery of its fighters and the widespread support from across the galaxy. The death of Palpatine, along with the destruction of the Sith forces, officially marked the end of the Sith's influence over galactic affairs. The collapse of the First Order brought an end to its oppressive regime, and the galaxy began a process of healing and rebuilding. The war left many systems devastated. However, the victory of the Resistance rekindled hope across the galaxy, with people rising up to reclaim their freedom from tyranny. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment down below which war is your favorite, and subscribe if you would like to see a part 2, where I talk about more wars from this franchise, or other Star Wars videos in general. Thank you again, and goodbye.